From LALATE News Headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Mornings LALATE.
It's a big early morning of LALATE with incredible great news about your fourth stimulus check update of 2021. In today's recording, we'll go over that monthly stimulus check and why you're likely to get more months of checks in this fourth stimulus package. Then we cut to the recon, a deal done, an agreement upon passing it, and an agreement on the price tag. $3.5 trillion of checks for the American people. Lots of checks. I'll go over some of those checks in this recording. And then the third part of this video, deal done. The Republicans say they are ready to call the vote on the bipartisan. They gave a date and they gave an indication of when they're doing it. That means if that's done, then the recon can go for a vote first. Guess what? It's just days away. It's incredible, great news, and it's all breaking on this big early morning broadcast. Then we cut to the big money on the fifth stimulus, which raised your benefits up a lifetime. This is the benchmark of inflation. And its addition, is it impacted by the raise and drop of the Treasury yields? I'll explain all the details. And then we turn to the big money across the board that viewers continue to get, like Nisi, who got $23,000. Louis, who got $18,000. It's a big day. It's a big morning. I'm going to show you how you can get this big, delicious money. It's deliciousness. On this early morning's broadcast, the toast is toasting, the butter is buttery. I'm here, you're here, and it's time for early mornings. Start right now. Good morning, everybody. How are you doing? It's a beautiful morning, and there's just so much breaking news. Boy, but first, how's the weather where you are? It was hot here yesterday in LA, but it's supposed to cool down today. It's just going on up and then going down. It's sort of like the 10-year Treasury note. Sort of like Nancy's hairstyle. But hey, who's noticing in this fourth stimulus check update of 2021? So much happening. But jump in the live chat right now and post your comments of where you're tuning in from and how's the weather. In the fourth stimulus, we're going to go over that monthly stimulus check and why you're likely to get more months of checks because of what's going on. Then we turn to the recon. Deal done. $3.5 trillion of checks for the American people. The Democrats have agreed. We have an agreement, and I'll have all the details in this exciting news. Then, vote date. We have a vote and we have a date set, and it's coming just within days. I'll explain what that vote means, and it's about the bipartisan. And if that's coming, then we're ready to do our recon right before it. Oh my goodness. It's in the final 15 of the final 14 of this video. But then we're also going to turn to fifth stimulus, which the president promised you will raise your benefits like SSI, SSDI, and VA. That's happening this fall. So much breaking news. I'll have the latest on that as well. And then Nisi and Louis and John, $12,000, $18,000, $24,000 for my videos. I'm going to show you how you can get this money as well. And this is LALATE, America's only 24-hour a day, 7 days a week, financial news channel in America, live in the morning, taped in the afternoon. Coming up next is Mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Overnight's Crypto is playing right after this video. This video will take you there, so subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. Fastest growing channel there is for a reason. The most in-depth, the most accurate, and the most comprehensive coverage you'll see of the financial markets across the board. Hit that subscribe button right now once you're part of that family, this family. And then like the video. 3,000 likes. Every like helps. And consider becoming a member. Let's get into the deliciousness of how many checks that could be at issue under fourth stimulus. It was just 3 weeks ago, where we wondered maybe the pandemic's not over. Then 2 weeks ago, when we realized, oh, the pandemic's not over. Mass mandates starting to be reversed, and suddenly COVID cases rising in 50 states. Then last week, realizing the pandemic's definitely not over. Even a GOP leader on Congressional Hill said to Jay Powell, it's not over. This week, we're realizing it's really not over. That means that the House bill, Pandemic Plus 1 year, would likely pay a lot more checks than the Senate, which is July to December. Let's compare the payouts. House bill, $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter. Senate amount unknown, but word on the street is it's this. Deliciousness. $2,000 over 6 months, $12,000. Or $1,400 over 6 months, $8,400. With the pandemic certainly no longer over, then the House bill would be paying more than just 1 year. It would be paying pandemic plus 1 year. Monthly checks, which is more than 12 checks, which is more than $13,000. So compare that to this. I think you have an opinion. Jump up in the live chat right now and vote House of Senate. House of Senate, tell me where you're tuning in from and how's the weather. Boy, so who gets this fourth stimulus check? Democrats represent that if you got a third stimulus check, you get a fourth stimulus check. So single individuals, $75,000 less. Democrats represent, you get a fourth stimulus check. Married couple, $150,000 less. Democrats represent, you get a fourth stimulus check. Double it. Family of four, Democrats represent, you get a fourth stimulus check. Quadruple it. And if you're on benefits, SSI, SSDI, or VA, or anyone else, Democrats represent, you get a fourth stimulus check. Adult dependents would get the same stimulus check as everyone else. Everyone's check would come the same for the same amount the Democrats represent. The fourth stimulus check is not income. It's not taxable. And the fourth stimulus check is not waivable. Have you not heard that? I had heard that. But on Sunday when I was broadcasting live from the beach for you on YouTube, one viewer said, hey, LALATE, is that the check behind you at the beach? Is that the check behind you, LALATE, on the beach? I looked and I said, it is. The viewer said, no joke, this is the exchange. Wave at the check. So I waved to the check. I fell for it. I waved to the check. I said, hey, check, how you doing? And the check didn't wave back at me. I said, rude check. And the viewer said, LALATE, it's not a rude check. It's just not a waivable check. Haven't you watched your videos? I love when the viewers know my lines better than I do. So there you go. The Democrats represent you and get the fourth stimulus check in the month of July for the month of July, and they can still get it done. And in the month of August for the month of August. But in the second half of this video, the recon will be covered. Deal done. $3.5 trillion. The Democrats have agreed upon. One, they're passing the recon. And two, they got a price tag. $3.5 trillion. Oh my goodness. It's all checks. It's just all checks. I'll go over all those details and some of those checks in this video. In the third part, we go over the bipartisan, the roads and bridges, the money that's not our money. But the calling of its vote is critical because it has to be done. Otherwise, our money's not called for a vote. Well, it's getting called for a vote. Yes, that's coming up in the final 15 of the final 14 of this video. My goodness. But first, a preview of the second half of this video. It's for stimulus. The president promised you a raise up of your benefits a lifetime. He didn't get it for beneficiaries. He didn't do it, and now the congressional leaders are doing it for you. It's coming up later in this video with some breaking news as well. But let's get some money. And boy, you are killing it. I had been saying for rent, if you have, I can get you $5,000. But now Nisi got $20,000 for rent from this channel. I said for utilities, I can get you $300. Yesterday, viewers all throughout the live chats were getting $3,000 for utilities. For Snap, I said I can get you $5,000 to $6,000 for Snap. And now John got $10,000 to $12,000 and Louis got $18,000. My goodness, you're killing it. Jump in the live chat right now and post the rent you got, the utilities, the Snap. Because boy, I'm going to get it for the rest of you that are watching right now. Get a pen and paper ready. I'm going to go over all this big money I can get you. Rent, utilities, internet, homeowners assistance, homeowners utilities, and homeowners mortgage. It's coming up in just a second. But what's going on? This is what this channel does. We cash checks here. We don't track checks. In 2020, EIDL loan checks were not arriving. There was no check to track. But I got $25 million of EIDL loan checks to cash as I stepped forward and got their applications approved. In fall of 2020, then suddenly there was no second stimulus check to track. It was not going out. But I stepped forward and I got viewers $250,000 of rent for checks to cash. Like Tyrone out of Boston got $15,000, $14,000 from his channel for his family of four. And now we're doing the same. And boy, are you ready? I'm ready. Let's go over all the incredible details. I'm going to show you different places with eligibility. Reach out to each. If one says no, don't worry, reach out to the next. Please apply. Because one may say no and one may say yes. They all have different eligibility. They also have their own pots of money. And finally, the keywords viewers tell me are critical and really help. The keywords I'm going to go over right now, and also where to get this money. You're going to reach out to your city hall, your city housing authority, your county hall, your county housing authority, your state hall, your state housing authority. Keywords you're going to say are rent assistance because of COVID, or mortgage or utility assistance because of COVID. You don't say words they don't know, like stimulus or the color wheel. The who? The thing with the teal monster? No, we don't know that. Sorry. I'm outside eating the lawn. I'm sort of busy. They don't know that. And they don't know about cows eating lawns either. They use lawnmowers. So there you go. Congratulations to Tim and Linda who got this wonderful pot of money. The next pot of money is the money coming back from Snap. If you've got a rent or utilities, post in the live chat right now. But here we go with Snap. John got $10,000 to $12,000. Congratulations, my brother. And then Louis, $18,000. Oh boy, bro, you are killing it. But let's go over all this incredible money. What is it? It's the money coming back from the federal government for money for your food. SNAP is money for your food. How do you get it? Department of Agriculture eligibility is easier than a stimulus check. Why would you not get it? How much? A family of foreign boss in Hawaii gets upwards of $16,000 a year. Wow. Why so much money? Because of two executive orders. One that raised your benefits up 15% from Trump and one that did it from Biden between now and December. So go get it. You're killing it. I'm killing it. Lynn Glenn got SNAP and so did Gail for her son, her mom, and herself. And we're only 10 minutes of this video. $16,000 for SNAP, $5,000 for rent. The next pot of the money is the refund check coming back from your state due to overpayment of unemployment benefits and a computer error. Where's that landing? Direct deposit. Can you track it? Yeah, call up your state and say, hey, state, where's that check due to computer error? And can you track it this time with a computer that actually works? And finally, the wonderful pot of money coming back from IRS. And Margaret got it. Cod got it, Michael got it. This is the refund check for your 2020 taxes from IRS for the unemployment benefits. Now, if you've not posted your success stories in the chat, do it right now. 3 wonderful things come from it. 1, when you post your success stories, then other viewers see and say, oh, maybe I'll get it as well. It inspires other people to get them money. It's viewers helping viewers. Number 2, it also gives us the inspiration to get multiple sums of money. So Art Sullivan got 3 items. If you see one and then you're like, wait a second, I should get others. There you go. And finally, it updates us about the numbers. When we saw Louis at $18,000 for SNAP, we were just shocked. And there you go. All right, this wonderful pot of money is coming back from IRS. And we have an update about this as well. IRS says that there is a new wave of this refund checks coming out. $12.65 is the average check amount. Wow. Direct deposits start July 14th. And then the paper checks started July 16th. They're coming in waves, a new wave every week. So if you're at the beach and you see the IRS, no, we're not going to do that joke. So where's it landing? Direct deposit, otherwise in the mail. When this month? Can you track it? Yeah, you can. Go to irs.gov, do a transcript search, and 70% of the time it'll reveal stuff about this. It'll reveal the tax return you file. It'll reveal the taxes you paid 70% of the time. And then it'll reveal stuff you didn't know. It'll reveal stuff you didn't want to know. It'll reveal stuff you don't want people to see. It'll reveal the tax return you filed. But it will also potentially reveal when Mitch was on Star Search and was singing a lullaby for Chuck, did he sing Slave to You by Britney? Then there you go. Can we top that? We can, as we go into the second part of your 4th stimulus check update of 2021, starting right now. First deal. Deal on the recon. The recon has an agreement to pass. The Democrats have agreed they're passing the recon, number 1, and they've agreed upon the price tag. $3.5 trillion will be the price tag. All checks for you. Wow. How do we get to this wonderful spot? We got to this wonderful spot because the recon originally was this behemoth that had roads and bridges in there, and before July 4th, Chuck thought he could get it for a vote, but he asked the Democrats, would you vote in favor of it? No, it's too big. Take roads and bridges out. So they shrunk the recon and put the roads and bridges somewhere else into the bipartisan. It made the recon passable, which it has now been passed for price tag purposes. And we have that confirmation from conservative publications in a beautiful op-ed. The higher the price tag was on the recon, the harder it was to pass before. There you go, confirmation. But by allowing the Democrats to take out some of the spending from the bipartisan, put it into the roads, and put it into the take out some of the spending from the recon and put it into the bipartisan roads and bridges, the overall price tag of the recon got smaller, obviously. In other words, the bipartisan made the recon passable. There you go. Sorry to set you up, Mitch. Now, ironically, Mitch doesn't feel set up because the Republicans love the bipartisan. How much do they love it? It's going to a vote. Yeah, state of the final end, the final 15, the final 14, it's coming up. Boy. Now that the recon was shrunk, the progressives were able to add more money back in there, and they did bring it to a $3.5 trillion price tag. They got exactly what they wanted. Before that price tag, Representative Elon Omar says we will get a recon that goes as far as we want. We got it. You got it, Elon. $3.5 trillion. Congratulations. And Representative Richie Torres says, I have to have a larger recon. You got it, Richie. $3.5 trillion. The progressives were meeting daily with the White House to ensure that the recon went big and bold enough. And Jalopal had been confirming for over a month that she was protecting the recon. Why? Because as Brian Schatz, Democrat out of Hawaii, has said that the priorities in the recon are the White House's own progressive priorities. Now, what is a recon? Who writes it? What does it do? And how does it get fit to the finish line? A recon stands for reconciliation. It's a bill, and there's actually, in this case, two of them. There's a recon procedural, which I'm going to go over, and a recon substantive, which is what we're covering here. The recon substantive is written by Democrats for Democrats to be passed by Democrats, and ultimately the writers are the House subcommittees. They're the lead authors, with the Senate subcommittees watching them. They're delegated different subject matters as legislators under the Constitution, those subcommittees. House subcommittees are separated based on subject matter, and in this case, House Ways and Means Subcommittee is responsible for writing stimulus checks and unemployment benefits. So, wow. When they're all done, then they send their pages up together to Chuck. So let's say we have 10 subcommittees with 10 pages written. They send them up to Chuck. He puts a big S on it, and we have a bill. Not S for Schumer, S for Senate. And there you go. That's when you see the recon. Now, it's important for you to understand that the recon has multiple names, and so does the bipartisan. And while I only use those two words, broadcast media, we use other words, and I don't want you to get confused, so I want to go over what those other words are. Recon is also reconciliation, is also called the budget bill. It has a price tag of $3.5 trillion. The people quoted in the articles about it are like a Bernie Sanders. The bipartisan is also called roads and bridges, and also infrastructure, smaller price tag, $1.5 trillion. And the people quoting the article about that are like a Kristen Sinema and a Mitt Romney. Pretty easy. So what's important to understand is that under the Constitution, there's no requirement for those subcommittees to show you what they're doing. So those subcommittees may be adding things, taking things out, putting them in there, putting them out, voting in favor, voting against. They have no constitutional requirement to show you what they're doing. And in fact, they're not going to, because when the whole thing is done, then the Democrats are going to debut it. Sort of like a pop singer who doesn't want to show you the songs on her upcoming album ahead of time. Mainstream media confirms my reporting and basically say we do not have the recon in final format yet, which is fine. That is why it's totally different than a naysayer that jumps in the comments and says, I haven't heard of this in the recon. Well, you haven't heard of it because you haven't seen it. There you go. How do we get to this wonderful spot from Jalopal, who had written a letter to Schumer over a week ago saying Chuck called the vote, and that letter was signed by 12 House Democrats who are among the 100 plus, yes 100, who wrote the president a letter saying we're going to be putting monthly stimulus checks in the fourth stimulus package. Wow. Can we top that? We can. As 7 members of that House subcommittee, House Ways and Means, the one you were just mentioning, yep, them, they say they're writing monthly fourth stimulus checks in the fourth stimulus package. Wow, we got to keep them to that promise. That's a great promise. We do. They also wrote you a third, and they represent they're giving you the fifth. That's coming up later in this video. Boy, can we top that? We can, as the president has done it. He got his international agreement into the books. 4 weeks ago, you saw the president go overseas to sign an international agreement, but that was just a ceremonial signature. This week, he did it officially. It's the tongue twister. It is a tongue twister. It is the global minimum corporate tax rate minimum. Why is this great news for the recon? Because the darn confusing thing ain't in there. It's as simple as that. First, it's easy to write the recon because the confusing thing is not in there. Second, it's easy to call the vote on the recon because that confusing thing is not in there. It's easy to vote on the recon because that confusing thing is not in there. And it's easy to pass the recon because that confusing thing is not in there. Can we top that? We can. As we go into the final 15 of the final 14, we have a date for a vote. And if a vote for a bill, yes, we have a date for a vote for a bill. Oh my goodness. And if we have that date, then it means we're going to have another date. Oh, whoa, it's moving quickly. It is moving quickly. And I'll go over why it's important to stay on focus during these final days. It's heating up, folks. So here we go. Also, I'll be going over fifth stimulus, which raises your benefits up a lifetime. But is the 10-year Treasury notes fluctuation going to impact that? I'll explain those details. But something wonderful before that? is the volunteers. If you need help with rent, utilities, internet, SNAP, or homeowner's mortgage, reach out to the volunteers. Where are they? They're in the description of this video. Open the description and you'll see a link to the community page with an emoji of a house. That's news.lalate.com/community. Click the link and it'll send you there. The volunteers will help you for all those big items. If you can't find them, they're salt of the earth. They're viewers just like you, helping you. Here's a little bit about them, and I'll be back with you with 60 seconds as the toast is toasting on this early morning's broadcast. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.lalate.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on Mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. And the excitement continues on Early Mornings LALATE as the toast is toast and the butter is butter. And I'm here, you're here, and boy, the vote is almost here as well. In the final 15 of the final 14, you're going to see what's been going on in these final 14 days, potentially, of the recon battleground. That's in the final 15 minutes of this video. And then we turn to fifth stimulus, which raised your benefits up, but is it impacted by the fluctuation of the 10-year Treasury note happening on Wall Street this week? But first, subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. I don't want you to miss a single video across the board. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video. 2,000 to 3,000 likes. Every like helps. And consider becoming a member. Let's cut into the breaking news. Also, stay on this video. It'll take you to Overnight to Crypto when this is done. And I'll see you on Mornings LALATE at 9 as well. Fifth stimulus is what the president promised to you, but he didn't deliver it on the campaign trail. And then he promised it when he was elected in the transition papers, and he still didn't deliver it. So the Senate Democrats and House Democrats are going to do it for him. They're going to raise your benefit limits up, then remove the asset limits, add an inflationary benchmark, remove the income exclusion, and remove the marriage penalty. Let's go over how this works and this deliciousness starting right now. First, they'll raise your benefits up. This is you if you're on SSI, SSDI, Social Security, railroad benefits, veterans benefits, SSA, or multiple beneficiaries. Then they'll apply a new benchmark. That new benchmark is inflation. Now, the vote on this would likely be about November-ish. And once it happens, then you would start getting that new sum of money. But then they would apply the benchmark about December for next year. The new benchmark inflation, and inflation's going up. Jay Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve, testified on Capitol Hill last week. How high? Well, Wall Street's looking at 5%, and I am as well. That's my number. So if that's the case, let's go over all the details. First, they'll raise your benefits up one big time, and then they'll apply the benchmark. And if it's 5%, your benefits will step up 5%. Not just next year, lifetime. Oh my goodness. Once your benefits step up, they never step down. Yes. And then if your interest rate, then your inflation rate the year after that is 2%, you'll be a +2, +5%. Wow. Then they're going to move the asset cap dating back to a 1980s law that says you can't stay on benefits and also have more than $3,000 in hand. It'll go away, so you'll be able to have some stimulus checks and some nothing muddled in your hand. They're going to remove the income cap dating back to a 1960s law that says you can't work and stay on benefits. And then they're going to remove the marriage penalty. Love is going to win, and you'll be able to marry your longtime love interest. You'll no longer fear a loss of benefits or be penalized. Viewers like Rob and Sandy will be able to get married. And there you go. That's for stimulus. But if you're in the live chat and you notice people posting comments about the monies they've gotten and they have a purple hawk emoji next to their name, what's going on? They're members. Join the video, join this community by hitting the join link under the video. By becoming a member, you get access to all the big money under third stimulus. That's why Purple Hawks are getting fortunes from this channel. When second stimulus passed and it was a $600 stimulus check, I said, yeah, but I'll get you $6,000 from the stimulus package. I got a Tyrone out of Boston, $15,000. When it was third stimulus and $1,400 stimulus checks were passed earlier this year, I said, yeah, but I'll get you $14,000. Now I'm getting viewers like Louie, 18, and Nisi, 23,000. So subscribe, but become a member so you get access to all this deliciousness delivered to you daily. Meantime, is there a fifth stimulus check? There is. Those House Ways and Means Committee represent they're going to give you a fifth stimulus check. It would be next year. And then finally, the president has dedicated $1 billion to Social Security Administration to ensure your money comes out on time. And finally, if you're missing the first, second, or third stimulus check, do two things. File the tax return and request it on the tax return. You must under the current IRS code. So here we go. Final 15 and final 14 starting right now of what's going on in these final 14 days, potentially, of the fourth stimulus battleground. Here we go. 15 minutes, and let's get to the details. We're going to go over the recon, and then the bipartisan, and then back to the recon. It's a lot of breaking news you're hearing for the first time on Early Mornings LA. Number one, deal done on the recon. There is a deal that the recon is now effectively passed among Democrats and passed as to price. All they have to do is call the vote on the actual bill. This is huge, according to Tim Kaine, for two reasons. One, because it's done as to deal agreement, and as to price, it's also huge. Let's go over first. Tim Kaine says that once you agree upon the whole thing, the price, that makes it so easy because all you have to do is slot in the numbers. And it's really true. It's really at the edge of the finish line. Number two, the price is huge. Bernie Sanders went to the meetings, asked for $7 trillion. He walked out of $3.5 trillion. Ecstatic. Why? He said he got all the money he needed for all his programs just in half the amount of time. Pretty easy. And this is $3.5 trillion of checks for you. The recon is just all checks. Just checks, 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 and more checks. Here's a preview of some of the items that have checks in that recon for us. Free school meal for all, checks. Tax break, checks. Cheaper prescription medication, checks. Immigration reform, checks. Greener farming, checks. Money for election, checks. Internet checks. Basically, they're going to have free internet companies across the country. They're going to give money to local cities so that they can have free internet companies for you and provide you free internet. And then checks continue, clean energy checks. And finally, my seniors and my workers, lots of checks. For my workers, checks for workers, independent contractors, unions, collective bargaining. And then for my seniors, checks for you, checks for Medicare expansion, checks for eligibility lowered, checks for dental, checks for vision, and checks for hearing care. There you go. Wow, that is wonderful. Now, let's turn over to the bipartisan. So what happened yesterday with the bipartisan? Well, it actually turned out much better than I thought. Chuck Schumer called a vote yesterday on something that I told you was not going to pass. And I told you why it was great that he did it, but it turned out it was actually better than I thought. Let's go over what happened. Chuck Schumer called a vote yesterday to end discussion and negotiations on the bipartisan infrastructure, roads, and bridges. Again, it's a call, end discussion, and negotiations. It's not a vote on the actual bill. It's only the infrastructure, the roads and bridges of the bipartisan. I had told you it was not going to pass, and it didn't. But I told you it was great because it was going to force the people to put fire under their feet and tell them to get it done. And it worked already. We saw last week because Mitt Romney last Thursday said they're effectively done with all the deal provisions and that they were working through the weekend and could have it ready for a vote this week. Wow. At which time I said yesterday, I don't think it's going to go for a vote this week. It will go for a vote next week. And that's what broadcast media said as well. Well, what happened yesterday? Chuck called the vote. It did not pass. And suddenly, it did better wonders than one would have expected. Ron Portman, a Republican who's sort of notorious in the coverage on this channel over the last year because of the crazy things he said when the pandemic first started, delivered to Chuck Schumer a letter late in the day after the vote ended, signed by 11 Republican senators, that said, we are ready to call the vote on the bipartisan next week. Really? Yes. So those 11 Republicans say that they reviewed the deal terms. They're happy with the deal terms. They're ready to call the vote. They're just finalizing the bill. Get ready to call for a vote next week. Oh my goodness. We have a date. We have a vote, and we will have a bill. And do I think they're telling the accurate and promised truth? Absolutely. Mitt Romney is very fast on doing things, and he said he was going to get done this week. I thought that was wishful thinking. But broadcast media all thought it was next week. I think it's next week as well. So to recap, this is the bipartisan, the infrastructure, the roads and bridges, not your money. This is next week for a vote. Wow, exciting. Why is this huge? You know why it's huge. Because they have to call the vote on the recon before the bipartisan. And they can't call the vote on the recon unless the bipartisan is ready to be voted on close in time, like a few days later or the next week or, a few hours later. And if the bipartisan infrastructure is going for a vote next week, then the recon can go for a vote as early as this week. Wow. Now, the recon could also go for a vote early next week as well. So by all accounts, the final 15 of the final 14 in this video reveals we may be the final 7 of the final 15. We look like we're less than 7 days away from a finality of this. How many votes they got to do? They got to do at least 12 votes. 3 rounds of 4. Senate subcommittee, Senate floor, House, back to the president. But because there's 3 bills, House, the bipartisan, and the recon procedural and recon substantive. Now, I'm not sure, but I believe that after, even if it starts on the Senate side, it has to go back to the Senate side again to do a vote-a-rama. The House members spoke about the situation yesterday, and they actually used this expression. I'm not making it up. We're not cheap dates. What are they referring to? That they want to basically have their nip at their choice, their opportunity to bite at it and make any modifications. This is huge because ultimately, when they have the legislation, they can modify it at any step. It's important to remember what happened in 2020 fall. In 2020 fall, we were waiting for the HEROES Act, Nancy Pelosi's April 2020 behemoth of stimulus, second stimulus. It was not happening. So we're sitting back wondering, where is our stimulus? And I came up with the idea, let's put stimulus into a continuing resolution. People thought it was crazy. It's a budget bill to run the federal government. Why would there be a stimulus check in there? Well, we got it in there because we pushed day in, day out. After over a week or so of pushing, they heard it. Went trending nationally, and we changed American history. Stimulus in the CR, we woke up one morning, and then we looked at it, and we realized, oh, no, they put the wrong one in there. They put unemployment stimulus, so we had to push back again, and that took a day or two or so, and then it was in there. But then after that, everything started going left and right. We had days where we woke up, and it changed by the hour. The stimulus check in, the stimulus check out. The amount went up, the amount went down, the eligibility went broader, the eligibility went narrower. It just kept on changing. We kept on pushing. We never lost faith because you have to push. And then along the way, after everything was finalized, then Senator Toomey came out of nowhere and said, I'm going to blow this all up. It ain't going to pass. And for 5 hours, we thought maybe it won't pass until Mitt Romney stepped in and solved it. The reason why this is important is because you have to push. Donut Guy asks questions. Purple Power pushes, doesn't ask questions. Donut Guy, when am I getting it? When is it being sent? When is it being voted? When am I receiving it? When is it going out? When, how, when? We don't ask, we push. We call up and we push. We say, get it done. Put it in there. Make it bigger. Make it more. Make it multiple. We push. It's important for you to understand that when the recon is debuted on the Senate side with that big S on there, not for Schumer, but for Senate, you will see something. And maybe it's wrong. Maybe it's right. Maybe it gets modified. Maybe it doesn't get modified. There is opportunity to push across the board. As WR did, he picked up the phone and called Senator Chris Coons, Democrat, Delaware, and said, hey, this is why we need a stimulus check. Explain the reason why we need stimulus checks. And the senator's secretary said, yes, Senator Coons is putting a monthly stimulus check in there. No reason to hold up a donut and have someone else do the work for you. You have to push. You have to push down to the finish line because everything is twisting. When we have $3.5 trillion of checks in that recon for us, trust me, you're working against someone then you're not expected to be working against Democrats, because Democrats are trying to take as big a cut of the pie of that 3.5 trillion as they can. They want to take it all for themselves, or all for that individual senator wants to take it all for him or herself for their pet project. One may want it for Medicare, one may want it for internet. We want it for ourselves. We are the pushers for ourselves. And with that, it's important to note that things are changing by the minute. There's going to be a lot of changes in the news cycle every hour. And there's going to be a lot of very, very, very confusing stuff. There's an ancillary confusing thing that happened yesterday when Mitch McConnell, when confronting the issue of whether to keep the government open or cause the country to close down because the government does not have money to run its operations, Mitch vowed to shut down the government. Really, Mitch? Does that impact this? It sort of does, but not. It's very confusing. It's needless to say that unless I go into great depth for you, I don't think it's really something to be worried about. But basically, what that was about is you have to do the budget bill to agree to keep the country open. If you don't, there's no money for the country, and we can't pay the cows to eat the lawn out front. And if the cows aren't paid, they're not going to keep on eating. So that's how it sort of works. And so what Mitch did yesterday, he said, "I'm not going to pay bills." It's sort of funny. You don't pay ours and you don't pay theirs. But anyway. So, am I worried about? No. What is important is you to push down to the final line. And there you go. Things are moving very, very quickly. Stay positive, stay focused. I'm back with you on Mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. and it's going to be a big show. Overnight's Crypto is currently airing live on the channel, so jump into that show as well. Along the line, we will be seeing things coming and going. $3.5 trillion is a lot of money. But in the same regard, it needs to be put in the right place. And you need to push to ensure that throughout this process, Senate, House, back to Senate, President, that the modifications that are done are the modifications that work for us. Stay informed, stay focused, subscribe. 400,000 subscribers on YouTube record. I want you part of this family. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video, 3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. Of more details on Mornings LA coming up next. Stay informed, stay focused, and stay with LA for more.